All right, we are in lesson 3, harvesting plants and managing plant sites. So there's a lot of different ways to harvest plant materials, like live plants, including those grown in the lab, garden, or farm. They can be harvested at will, which means when you want. State and federal laws control the harvest of wild grown plants and materials. So you can't go out to a national park necessarily and cut off a piece of a native plant there and take it home and grow it. However, if you grow your own plants, you have a landscape, and you want to give your neighbor some spider plant, that's totally fine. They should be harvested at the appropriate time for the plant. So many types of fruits are harvested when ripe for the highest quality. Vegetables are harvested relatively younger for milder flavor and improved texture. Flowers are harvested while in the bud stage, so before they bloom, because after you cut them, they'll bloom faster. And once a flower blooms, you only have such a short amount of time before it wilts and dies. A few basic rules can enable harvesting while reducing damage. Plant material, if it's not easily picked, should be cut away with a clean, sharp knife. Don't use a dirty knife or one that's not sterile. We want to, just as you would if you were a doctor doing surgery on a patient, you want to use sterile materials when doing surgery on a plant, cutting on a plant. Cuttings are harvested from plants for propagation. So these are pieces of the plant, and you just take a piece of that plant and you can dip it in rooting hormone, or actually just sometimes stick it in the ground and that plant will grow. Laws and regulations govern taking or harvesting plant materials from plants grown in public areas. So, like, you just can't go around stealing all these different types of plants for your personal landscape. In some states, native plant permits, so native means native to that state, are required if you wish to harvest native plants. So you could be fined, and you could actually go to jail, if you don't follow these regulations. These allow for the harvest of plants rather than the harvest of fruits for those plants. The harvesting of some plants, but not all, may be restricted. So, like in state parks in Florida, the harvesting of any plant material may be banned. Always follow state and local regulations when you're harvesting plant material. And a lot of people, this is their hobby. They go out and they find all these plants. Maybe it may be at neighborhoods, in the median, wherever, and that's how they're really good at green thumb. So they don't ever have to buy a plant. They just take a piece of it, cutting of it, and they grow it. So that's a really neat skill. Managing planting sites, so getting your plant site ready for those plants, is crucial. The management depends on a range of factors like the site, whether it's indoors, outdoors, and protected cropping area. Improper plant management and site management can lead to plant death and failure. So plants are costly, especially if you're doing a lot. You may see at Walmart petunias are $1 a piece. Well, you typically aren't going to plant one petunia, right? Depending on your landscape, you may have 50 petunias in a setting. Well, that starts to add up, right? Trees are even more expensive. You're looking at hundreds of dollars. So it says planting of trees and shrubs are likely to fail within only 5 to 10 years for 3 reasons in urban areas. So that's improper design. Maybe they plant it where they're not going to grow. They don't have enough sunlight. They don't have enough space for their roots. They choose the wrong plants, not knowing what's going to grow well in that area, and they may damage the plants in the process. So this says like a mature oak, which is the state tree, live oak. Or no, the state tree is the pecan, maybe. Either way, mature oak needs 40 to 60 feet of space. So if they don't plan that, and then you have problems, those roots are going to grow out, and they may start to break foundations or cause cracks in concrete, right? And then a lot of people will take them down. So you need to plan these things when you're planting. Be sure you know how large these plants and trees are going to get. Holes need to be dug the right amount. Standard rule of thumb for a tree or large shrub calls for planting holes with 1 foot diameter, so 1 foot wide, for each inch of tree plus 1 foot. So that's a big, large hole. This planting diameter is adequate for the root ball at the time of planting, but not for growing thereafter. Smaller trees should be allowed spacing at least 20 to 25 feet, even though they're small like that. You need to spread them out more. So they're going to have to go in and move a lot of these trees because these are only like 6 feet apart. Urban soils, construction pose additional issues. There's a lot of waste building material left in there, so that's not really great soil to pursue tree survival. Some other issues are paving, sidewalks, and other surfaces. They don't get enough water if they're too close to these, or oxygen. Roots need to grow, they need to spread out and expand. Plants should be suited to the site, the climate, and the environment. Native species should be chosen. Choose plants that grow up in that area. They're going to do better than, a plant that grows in Pennsylvania is not going to grow well in South Texas. Care must be given during transport and planting. If the roots are damaged during transport, there's much greater likelihood of plant death. So that goes back to the last lesson of transportation. Plants, a lot of people get rough with them because they're not animals, but they are living creatures. So they need care because they are delicate.